Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Thought I'd show you a few home maintenance and another prepping find that I've got. I'm going to talk about a Cushman vehicle that I purchased, and it's because I've got this very low area of my property, and I didn't really have any way to traverse that and bring up a bunch of cut down tree rounds and everything that I need to clear a back road. So I wanted to get like an ATV or something, but the doggone things are just super pricey. And I found there's actually several of these Cushman that are around. They're like retired meter made vehicles, super easy to work on. And most of them are like three-wheel, and I was able to buy a four-wheel version. So let me show you what that looks like. This is really cool. And then the second part of the video is about seal coating my driveway in certain areas. I actually was doing some repairs and showing you some of the background behind that, because I don't know if you have an asphalt driveway, but not everything is completely maintenance free. And you got to catch this stuff early. I was probably delinquent in actually getting this sealed, but getting it done now.
All right, I want to show you something that I picked up the other day. This is a Cushman, but it's a retired police meter maid vehicle, and it's four wheels, which is really cool. It's only two-wheel drive. This thing is 30 years old. It's only got like 16,000 miles on it, but they used to use it for parades. I mean, it's got the lights, everything works on it. I've ordered some more tires because I need something with a little more traction for using down at the bottom of my property. And I got to kind of go through the whole thing, but I mean, it runs like a top. It's got a big old bed in the back. This is fantastic. I got to get a bunch of rounds from the bottom of my property, and I needed something to do it. But this is really kind of neat. So it's a manual, but it's a real simple manual. There's one reverse and three forwards. And then the engine is underneath the seat. It's really loud when you drive it, but again, it's only like 22 horsepower, so this is about the same horsepower as my lawnmower. I've got a zero-turn lawnmower, but the lawnmower just does not work going up the hills because the front wheels on it are on swivels. You can't control them with the steering wheel. So I've had difficulties using that. But anyways, real simple to work on. There's not much to this. It's actually kind of cool. I like that it's got the cab too. So this is kind of like my SHTF vehicle also. Probably gets like 30 miles to the gallon or 50 miles to the gallon. I've heard different things. This is a real heavy vehicle though, so it's probably not as good as some of the other ones that they've got. But something the wife and I could go to the store and get groceries if we wanted to. Piece of cake. So anyways, I thought you'd be interested in this. I think this is pretty slick. Dial 911. Anyways, you can pick up some of this stuff much cheaper than buying an actual ATV or something. And again, this is, it would have been cool to get an electric vehicle though, but again, just a little bit of gas goes a long ways with something like this. Anyways, this will be a little project vehicle that I got to work on over the next couple months, ordering all the parts I need to bring this back. And I'll probably use the bed liner paint to kind of doctor this thing up and get it back the way I'd like it. It'll be all pretty when I'm done. Anyways, that's what I got. Nice little toy.
So this next section is about seal coating driveways. I've got an asphalt driveway. Actually, I've got one at my rental property and the one at my house. And I guess time had gotten away from me, and I should have sealed my driveway this past year. And I started noticing some separations that were occurring between areas where the driveways were connecting. And it just asphalt driveways, most people don't realize, is actually porous, and water kind of runs through, and your underlayment starts eroding a little bit. Next, you know, you can end up with some serious problems. But in any event, I noticed in certain areas that a lot of the asphalt was starting to kind of get granulated and running down the driveway and eroding a little bit. And then also where the driveway's connected, it was cracking. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what I was doing to at least prolong it till I can get till next year and do the proper seal coating. But anyways, there's a lot of videos online that show how to do this with these buckets, and that's what I've been doing for my properties. But I've got such a big driveway at my house, it would take a ton of buckets, probably like 55-gallon buckets to be able to do it. Now I'd probably take more like 75 or more, and you're supposed to do 2 coats. So on a driveway like this, it probably just makes sense to have one of these trucks come in and do it. But anyways, I wanted you to kind of see what I was doing and how it was working out. It actually worked really well.
So every once in a while you got to do maintenance on things, and I like to make my show multifaceted. So here's a tip. I've got 2 asphalt driveways, one on my rental property and one for my own house. So this is year 2 of my asphalt driveway, and I've noticed certain areas I'm having some troubles where it's basically seams. Wherever seams came together, I'm getting some cracking and degradation. And so here's an area right here. You can see there's an obvious seam, and what happens is this ends up being somewhat porous. And asphalt, for it to last the longest, you need to seal it. And a lot of people don't know what you need to do, but I use this latexite airport grade. And this lasts a lot longer than the other garbage that you can buy that's a lot cheaper. But the idea is only do this every once in a while, like in this case 4 years versus maybe every other year. It's a time saver. A little bit extra money makes a big difference. But first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just seal these seams, and wherever there's any cracks, I fill these cracks over here. You can see these are all filled, because the idea is, especially in a northern climate, water will get in those cracks, and then when it freezes, it expands, and it'll just make the cracks bigger and bigger. Now, this is not completely dry, some of these thicker areas where I filled it in, but it should be more than enough. And there's this stuff over here called latexite trial patch. And then for smaller things, there's this blacktop crack filler. And I use this specifically for, I've got a asphalt that goes up against the house at my rental property. And this is just easier. You cut that, you just pour it out the top right into your crack, and it fills that space. But wherever I'm getting like a little degradation, like you see right here where the pebbles are all exposed, when I fill this in with that airport grade stuff, you won't even notice that anymore, and it'll hold it all together. This driveway is actually in pretty good shape. Like I said, it's only in these areas where when they tried to connect one part of the driveway to the other, what happens is I think the other first part that they laid down is not at the same temperature, and so it just doesn't really bond. But asphalt isn't a non-porous surface anyways, but there's only a few, and a lot of these were just like minor surface cracks, but it's just better to go ahead and fill those in like this. And then all you do is, it's actually kind of simple. You just squeegee this on. So I've got this squeegee, and I just dump it out, and I just kind of drag the material where it needs to go. But you don't, it's not like you're trying to get it dry. You're just trying to put a fairly uniform coating. So that's what I'm going to do. I already did the area in front of my garage down there a couple months ago. We just happen to have very inordinate warm weather for several days here, so it's the perfect time to hit this before we get the super cold weather. You need to have at least 24 hours before any rain, and in this case I got like 36 hours, so it should work fine. And next year during the summer I'll have somebody come in and coat the whole driveway. They have these big trucks with sprayers off the back, and that's really the ultimate way. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and take care of the rough areas first, and then their job is easy. They just come in and spray and good to go, and you only have to do that like once every 4 or 5 years. It's not free, but you'll have a forever surface then. All right, that's what it looks like.
So let me give you a little overview of this. So first thing you gotta do is you gotta blow off the driveway, and in some cases we even pressure washed to get any debris that might be stuck in there, because you want this as clean as possible. Actually, you want to do is, this is showing the container, that you would fill smaller cracks, and then you'd use a trowel with that other stuff for some of the larger cracks. When I buy my containers, I have them mixed at the store because it just works really well. A lot of this stuff has been sitting there for I don't know how long in the store, and there's some sand that's actually inside this. It's like a latex paint is basically what it is. So you use the shakers in the paint department, and it actually distributes it nicely. If you try to mix it with those mixers, you're not going to get in the corners and everything. But if you don't do this, like the next day, you're still probably going to have to stir the things up. If you are next to like a concrete driveway or something, you're going to want to come in here with a brush and kind of cut it in on the edges, and then you pour it out just like this, and then you use you squeegee this material back and forth, and it works really well. I don't know why this is looking like it's a different color, but it's a black color. It's a tar-like appearance, but it's really just latex paint typically. When you go to these companies to have them spray your driveway, there are actually different mixtures, and some of them I've seen are not allowed in certain areas of the country, but those are probably the ones that you actually want. They'll last a lot longer. The stuff you get at the store, though, is pretty much just latex type paint, so you're painting your driveway. And if you've got the time, you need to put 2 coats on there for it to actually last appropriately. Now, I did a lot of research on this, and you don't want to do this in the middle of the summer. You obviously don't want to do it in the winter, so you need to do like spring and fall. So in my case, I was sitting here doing this before Christmas, but we had an unusual warm spell that had come through, and it was warming up during the day, but still fairly cool at night, but not freezing. And I was able to get away with it, but I wasn't doing the whole driveway. I was just trying to hit some of the rough spots. So next year, I got it on my list. I got to write probably a pretty good check to get this sealed. But that's what you need to know to be able to do your drive. It is actually very simple, not difficult. It's just pain in the butt toting those 5-gallon buckets. So I kind of set them strategically along the driveway, like every 10, depending on how wide your driveway is, it might be every 15 feet or so. This stuff goes a long ways when you're kind of squeegeeing it out. But anyways, I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's treating you well. Do the best you can. God bless.